All right. Laura,
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
we're on. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing good. As you know, I have a whole new
You got a whole new...
thing going on.
Yeah, you're busy.
I am so busy, but
Right.
loving every minute of
You
it.
went from retired to running a race.
Yes,
So
but all for a great cause.
what are you running for? Why are you running? Who are you running against?
I'm running for a Commission seat, Group 2, in the town of Stewart. I'm running against Becky Bruner.
All right. So we might be dais mates up there.
I hope so.
Yeah. So what in the world compelled you to want to run for a city seat? I mean, you got a great life, right?
Yes,
You're retired,
yes,
living the dream
yes,
in Stewart, Florida.
yes.
Why in the world would you subject yourself to the agony that is local municipal politics?
Well, to be perfectly
Not
honest,
to completely talk you out of doing it, but
right. No, you cannot at this point.
Good.
I am dedicated to
That's
winning
right.
and dedicated to making changes
That's
and
it.
to, hopefully see a whole new composite on the commissions for this town of Stewart. The reason I entered the race is, as you said, I had a great life, and several years ago I did get involved, started going to commission meetings, and at the beginning of that there were not many people who showed up, and very few were online. But all of a sudden, there were projects being talked about, people were aware, and the room would fill, and you would have people who made great points for the community for the reason for not approving certain projects, and didn't really matter how many people were there, how many people were opposing. There was always a 4-1 vote. It was 4 in favor and you against. And I couldn't understand why these people who were obviously locals, had been here for years, were doing everything in their possibility to ruin the very town we all love. And I just didn't get it, and they always brought up the fact that we were once again voted the best coastal town, and it's like, well, that's great, but that's going to be a vision of the past, because we're not going to be that anymore. We're just going to be some other, no-name city that's overbuilt, overrun, traffic everywhere. It's just amazing. So when the opportunity came up and I did become vocal, you were so kind to appoint me to the local planning advisory board, which was another eye-opener. I would have, people who purchased property. It's always amazing to me. I purchased, commercial property, but I'm here looking for an exception to make that multi-housing. And my question always was, why did you purchase commercial? Why not build commercial? But that wasn't the goal, and it always made me wonder, why would someone invest their money into a project that obviously needed to be commercial and all of a sudden be asking for exceptions?
because they know it's a done deal, right?
Right, absolutely. And I'm like, okay, I'm a smart girl.
We got this.
Yeah, this is something not right
Okay,
here.
Count to 3. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
And so, of course, unfortunately, I wound up in the same position you were. I was the only no vote, and that happened quite often. But they would come for parking exceptions, setback exceptions, multi-housing, density, all of the things we really don't want if we want to maintain our place in, what do I want to say? Our place in being that great little coastal town where locals love living here, locals can afford to live here, and where people love to come and visit. Please come and visit us.
Yes.
See our downtown. Enjoy. Use our restaurants. Enjoy them. Purchase in our cute little boutique stores. Go to the beaches and then go home. It's like, but we cannot. We just cannot continue to build so everyone can move here. I go back and forth sometimes on Facebook with people, and one person said to me, well, we have to be able to provide housing for people who want to come here. And I always refer to, the movie, Build It, They Will Come,
Yes.
Field of Dreams.
Yep.
And I always said, don't build it, they can't come. They can come and visit. There's great places for them to stay. Come and visit, we're a great place.
One of the things it's part of why I appointed you on the LPA, but one of the things that I found very interesting with you is your history of where you've lived and what happened there. So it's one of the things I heard you say in one of your public comments, and I was like, she gets it. It's one thing to be a local, right, and have a sense of what this place is, but it seemed like the locals, and I won't name names too hard, but the locals that were in those seats weren't defending the quality of life. Like, you'd think if you had that brand recognition of that last name and your family's been here for a long time, you would naturally, be a Maggie Herchala. And in your comments, I heard, and I'll let you go into your story more, but listen, what you guys are trying to do, this whole thing with the housing and the workforce housing, we've already seen this where we're from, and it's why we've come here, is don't do this. You're not going to like how this ends. I know this is new for you guys, and this is a new adventure. This has happened other places, other cities up north. Like, don't ruin what you have, So I appreciated that experience with you, and it's like, she gets it. She will, hold the line, as it were.
Right.
But if you don't mind going into your history of, where you've grown up and why you decided to retire in Stewart and be here and why you want to protect it and from what,
Okay. Born and raised in Brooklyn. My husband and I were not childhood sweethearts, but we lived 4 doors away from each other.
Close enough. Yeah.
Contrary to what people believe, even in New York City, which I did live for some time, they're all neighborhoods, and they're like little towns.
Yeah.
And they're surrounded by other entities. So when we got married and started a family, we wanted to really experience true suburbia. So we moved to a small town in Connecticut, which was great. I mean, it had a little bit of land. You were able to do things. You got to know people in the town. You got involved in local politics. But to be perfectly honest, all of a sudden they were looking to enact laws that would provide affordable housing. And that particular, and it was statewide, that particular bill allowed builders to come in, ignore setbacks, ignore wetland restrictions, ignore density, and they were building these units that were huge for the small town. All of a sudden, other than mansions, no single homes were being built. It was all concentrated in this area. Well, I want to tell you, it did not work.
Right.
30 years later, there really is still no affordable housing in that town.
But there's lots of density.
But there's lots of density, and they just...
How's the traffic?
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, between I-95, which is already so... And people now cut through town. They can't even cut through town anymore. They're taking the surrounding areas. It is horrendous at the normal times.
So you can tell me if this is an accurate characterization, but the affordable housing mantra, battle cry, right? We need more units was ultimately a scam that just left, your beautiful, charming town way too dense, very hard to navigate, much less safe, and no more affordable.
No more affordable. I will
Right.
tell you that my daughter still lives in town, and as of probably in the next month, a complex will be finished being built in downtown, which is now so dense that they think they're a mini New York. That apartment complex is being built, and it is a rental, not even an ownership or a condo or a townhouse.
Right.
And the hold on to your horses, affordable town, all that legislation.
Yep.
The average rent will be $8,000 a month. $1,000 a month.
Hold on.
So when I tell people here, don't
Just
do
got
it.
dizzy. Hold on.
Yeah, it is not going to
Doesn't
work.
make it affordable.
No, it's not even affordable. I think for the top 20 people in the bracket, you're looking at the top 1-2%, and maybe just want a little apartment in Darien. I have no idea what the goal was, other than we are trying to make every little town a big town. Everything urban, everything walkable.
Well, if you want to develop and you want to develop the most profitable way possible with the most units, it's a great political cover for you as affordable housing, right?
I guess.
More units, more density.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And density going up.
Right.
The small town was like this town. There was only so many levels you could go up. Well, doesn't exist anymore. The town is now probably 98% developed. So now we're talking redevelopment.
Yep.
And redevelopment is an even worse nightmare for when they first come in to develop other pieces of parcels of land. So again, how you end up with this affordable $8,000 apartment. But you're right in walking distance of the restaurants. You can walk down to the train station and go 60 minutes into Manhattan. I don't know. I have no idea what would prompt someone to want to own or rent an $8,000 apartment. But it is what it is. And all I'm telling the people in the town of Stewart, it does not work.
Right.
It will never work. You will look one day and say, oh my goodness, why didn't we stop?
And a lot of people are already feeling that way now. You know?
Yes, I get a lot of good feedback.
But again, your experience is so valuable in an advisory position, and I think it would also be so in the commission, because you've already lived through this. It's one thing, for us, let's say ultimately I was from Miami. My family moved here in 98. But let's say you're one of these families that's been here for 60 years or 100 years or a long time. And you get sold this bill of goods. Oh, we need workforce housing. You don't know any better, right? You know better. You've already done this. It's like the watchman on the wall screaming like, stop, protect what you have. Because once it's gone, it's gone. You can't go back.
No, you cannot recreate it.
You're not going less dense, right? So,
You cannot recreate it. I'm amazed because I look at the people on the commission and I say, they all live here. You were there one day when they talked about impact of traffic, and literally, Becky, others said, well, there's really no traffic problem.
It's crazy. The gaslighting is intense.
I said, I want all of your addresses. Right. I want to check if you're only going out at 2 o'clock in the morning, because it's the only time there's probably no traffic. So unless you don't navigate out of your home, you cannot believe that traffic is not impacted.
Yeah, try to come down here for dinner. Right.
I would assume most locals don't.
4 to 6 o'clock.
Do not come downtown for dinner, which is sad. You just live off of your tourism.
Which is one of the most charming things about downtown is you can come downtown and.
It is. I miss that.
Riverwalk or whatever. Yeah, boathouse.
I miss that. We do a lot.
But how many people get repelled by the fact that I'm not going to find somewhere to park. Right. It's going to be a nightmare. Yeah.
2-hour wait.
I'll just go to Sewell's Point.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Which a lot of people, and it shouldn't be that way. You should want the local people who live here to be able to enjoy their downtown.
Right. And support local businesses.
Yes.
That's what it's all about. That's what being in a small town is all about. Supporting that local business, going to buy gifts for friends or grandchildren, going to pick up a shawl for yourself, go downtown, have brunch. We went to Maria's the other day for lunch, which, was kind of nice. Season is over, so it's a little more bearable.
It's on the way out, for sure.
So, and it's great to see them. They're a family-owned business. They've been in town forever. They used to have a small little cafe across from the courthouse, I believe. And then when T.A. Verne closed, they bought it. And it's just great. It's just kind of that small town place to go and eat.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's what we need to keep. We need to keep all of that, and not brand names coming in and, what's the word for people that are chain stores?
Formula.
Yeah, all of that. And the town I came from in Connecticut was like that. And then all of a sudden, there were no more small hometown businesses. They were all gone. Mm-hmm. The rents had escalated to the point they couldn't afford it, so everything you had was a chain store.
Which is it seems like that's always the competing side of the money, right? It can all come down to ad valorem tax. Your city wants to increase its property values, right? So it can collect more tax. So it wants to redevelop. It likes CRAs. It wants to take whatever is lowest income, taxes their income producing, and have that now be a big fancy, let's bring the tax revenue in. But I think a lot of times, even though it looks great and it's beautiful and it's new, we forget, what about the guy or gal that wants to start a small business? And you can't afford rent anywhere near downtown now. If I opened up my practice, it was 12 years ago that I opened up. If I tried to open up today, I don't think I could afford to open up a practice over here today. There's no way, right? That shouldn't be the case. You should want to have high quality professionals or businesses and mom and pops and just culture be able to exist within your downtown, and not just be, like you said, the large corporations that can they have the resources to move in, and whatever it costs, they'll figure it out to have one of their stores here. So
you're right, but no one ever looks at the flip side of that. Yes,
sure,
you certainly do have more taxes coming in. That's great. What's the flip side of that? I don't know. Have your taxes gone down over the last 5 or 6 years with all of this development?
Surely not.
I mean, if you look at a scale, says, well, they should have. We took in all these taxes. But the flip side of that, taxes are, you have to now improve infrastructure, which they really haven't. You have to then take care of the water supplies. You have to take care of schools, fire, police. All of that.
And it's not getting cheaper to do any
and
of
it's
that.
not getting any less expensive.
Yep.
I mean, so there is a flip side to all of that money coming in. Well, more than it is going out because, as you and I know, taxes have increased.
I will say it's more exponential than people realize. It's not a linear curve of 10x people is 10x the cost to service. It is very much exponential because you have to build out more infrastructure, more plants, more, so it's always going to be cheaper to have less humans to service.
Yes.
There's probably like a threshold there, but the more exponentially you grow, it really just gets expensive to take care of these people. So my sort of contention, I'm a smaller government guy. I think you're on that same wavelength.
Absolutely.
Is why does a city need to make so much money? The cost of goods and services goes up, to be able to service your existing base, but why do we need so much redevelopment? Right? Why do we need so much more density? Why do we need to grow so much? Why not just run a leaner team? Maybe we don't need as large of a political or bureaucratic class anyway, maybe smaller government would be okay.
I'm all for that.
Maybe we don't need as many FRS retirement pensions going out. Maybe we have a smaller government. And then we don't need so much money coming in instead of an ever-growing, enlarging government.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think we need to govern for the people that are here.
Right.
We need to protect our businesses instead of being in business for ourselves. I mean, that's a whole other, I don't want to get into that. That is the point of governing. You need to govern the people.
Essential services.
Help the businesses to grow or maintain what they have.
At least don't get in the way.
Yeah, don't get in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm all for less government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How would you characterize how you would govern differently than Becky?
Well, Becky has said yes to, I believe, 98% of anything that's come before her, as has the rest of the commissioners, other than you. So I would weigh all of those, and I have a feeling, since I've been at many commission meetings, listening to the other side of it, I would pay more attention to my constituents, because they're the people who live here.
Because I've seen you at the LPA, but for a lot of people, you may be totally new. They have no idea who you are, right? So if they're watching this, like, who is Laura? What's she about? If you could characterize, one option versus the other.
Okay, I'm certainly slow growth. Obviously, Becky, who's lived here, is a local. Her family's been entrenched, I understand, for several generations, or at least 2 generations.
Yep.
So I could not understand her yes vote to all of this. Maybe she just didn't understand what would happen, and I'm letting everyone know it will happen. This will not be the town that you loved. So for all of those who don't know me, my name is Laura Giobbi, and I want to be able to change the composite of the commission in the town of Stewart. I want to be able for locals to say, you know what, I'm once again proud of being here. I like being here. I'm going to dedicate to going once again to downtown, supporting local businesses. I like what the commissions are now doing, and we're glad we made the change. Because if we don't, the time is now. If we don't make the change now, we cannot go back. We cannot go back and decide 5 years from now, well, this didn't work. And you can't. The genie will be out of the bottle, and we will all be suffering. And so I'm just here to let you know that I will be one of the voices working for the people of Stewart, working for the best for our environment here in Stewart, our waterways, our downtown, our land use, all of the things that impact us as a small town. And I would be working for you, the people of Stewart, and hopefully I can get your support and you'll vote for me. But that is who I am.
What about the developers out of Miami and the international, investors? What about them?
Well, I have to be perfectly honest. If we're able to change the composite of the where the commissions are going, it will not take them very long to realize, you know what, there's no more pickings for us in Stewart, and we're packing our bags and going somewhere else.
And I think that can sometimes be characterized, I've heard it at least in the past be characterized as antagonistic to business, right? Somehow it's if you want more responsible growth, you are anti-business. You're antagonistic to business. But at least how I would characterize it is, you should want your brand of your municipality. Like, you don't kill the golden goose. And I will bring this up would be the rehab center. You know, that's a hot one. Sheriff Snyder jumped in on that. And that's one of those where if you want to make a case that being slower growth or potentially even voting no on a proposed project is no growth and anti-business, well, where's that line, right? Because the entire community is, and I have to be careful with this because it hasn't come before me personally. So I'm going to say I am neutral.
I understand.
Until I hear the facts, right? But the entire community has come out and said, hey, no, please vote no on that. Don't go that route, right? Including the sheriff. Clearly there is some sort of line where quality of life and the character of a place gets crossed, and that project, that the business potential that's in that project is no longer worth what it will cost the community, right? So
Right.
it's just defining what that line is, because you can't just say that any no vote on a project is anti-business. You know, being slower growth or responsible growth, I would say characterizing it would be factoring in the property rights
I was just about to say that, yes.
of the human beings who already own property here and own businesses here as well. It's not just myopically looking at that particular business's proposal, that applicant's proposal for this thing. It's holistically, how does this affect the community in terms of traffic, parking, or whatever? You know, so that's my rant on.
And I don't blame you. And
those who might say you're anti-business or.
I'm not anti-business.
Right.
Do we not have developers that are local? Do we not have developers who might maybe like to purchase a piece of property and build a one-family home?
Yeah, a little less dense, right?
Little less dense.
High.
Do we not have builders who might, or individuals who want to purchase a commercial property and develop a business in town?
Yep.
And those are all things that do come before a commission or an LPA, and you evaluate them as they come in. Will this be good for the community?
Is it a good fit?
Yeah,
and if it is, fine, great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, God bless America. Do your thing. Make money.
Right.
Yeah, but
we
sorry,
do
I'm interrupting you.
No, it's okay. I do it all the time. I interrupt you too. But it is really the job of the governing body in the municipality to say, okay, is this a good fit? Will this benefit the community? You hear a lot of people who kind of come at me too saying you're no growth, and I'm not no growth. Every town, every city needs to grow at some point because you don't want to be stagnant. You want to be able to grow. But there is managed growth, and that is not what we've had here in Stewart. It's been growth on steroids without any consideration for any other entity. You'll hear a lot of developers and real estate people say, well, you know, there's property rights. Absolutely. What about the people who already live there? They have property rights also. I know if I owned a home and I wanted to do something that was outside of my zoning, I'd need to get variance from every one of my neighbors. And why does that not work in the same arena? Why is the governing body of this town not saying, well, that's not a good fit for this neighborhood? It does inflict,
especially when all the neighbors are coming out and saying, hey, this is not a good fit for the neighborhood.
Right. But it's, and it's one of those things.
You're just a NIMBY.
Yeah.
You're just a NIMBY, not in my backyard.
Right,
you don't get it. Like,
right.
No. It's in my backyard. I totally get it. Yeah. Please don't do this.
I know.
No.
But you have 4 people on that dais who are not listening. And I don't know why they're not listening. But the reality is that it's time for change. It's now or never. And we need to make that change. We need to change the people that are currently on the board and are running. And once again, I'm hoping that people will support me. No, you don't know me, but you will come to know me.
Yeah, one way or the other, you'll be on a board. But hopefully people are sick and tired of... It's tough because until it touches your neighborhood, until that project's next to your business or, the proposed whatever is next to your neighborhood, it's easy to see these things and maybe you get frustrated. It hits TC Palm. Oh man, after the fact. But you should hopefully have options of people you can vote for, right? And you'll take those potentially a risk, right? It can be a little, there's some cognitive dissonance with a new person, right? The incumbent's always going to be the easier vote. But like in my election, I was blessed that people took that risk. On a name, against a name, I was a newcomer to politics. You're on the LPA board at least. You've been involved. I was brand new, but people could feel like, okay, I like what that guy's saying. That guy I'm resonating with that. Yes. And I had no idea that guy approved this many units. And the same thing with Becky. People love Becky. She's awesome. She's super sweet. But if you don't mind going into, I don't think people understand how much has been approved. I'll let it come from your lips.
Right. I think Becky has approved every project before her, something like 3,000 units that have come before her over the last 5 or 6 years. And one unit she opposed. But I mean, I like Becky too. I think she's a really nice lady. I like Becky, but I am just flawed the fact that this is her hometown.
But you put us in those seats for how we vote. If you want to hang out with us and we're friends, we go have a beer later. But
well,
if we're in that seat, it should be because you like how we vote and what we'll fight for, and
And absolutely. And if you don't want to go out and have a drink with me, that's fine. But I'm going to be. That's perfectly fine with me. And Chris can tell you, I'm not that person. You want to? I was a board president in my condo for 5 years. Not the best liked person, and it didn't matter because I was doing the job I was there for. I was making sure that community turned around. It now has money. We have new roofs. I mean, there were things you do that people don't like, but you're governing to the best of all of your people, and that's what the governing board in Stewart needs to do.
Let me give you a little more context to that. Is what I've come to realize is sometimes you're a lawyer, right? Often you have the applicant is hiring and spending quality money, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to have high-powered law firms there. Everybody's got their suits on, right? And they are advocating for the interest of their client, the applicant. So they're hitting every possible angle, every possible objection. They've thought this out and spent lots of money and man hours preparing this case for why their applicant should get what they want. Okay? Me, whoever's on that board is supposed to be that for the residents. And now, hey, those two perspectives may dovetail and be the same, and it's an easy yes. Great. You're right, yes. But there are going to be times where it's like, hold on. The parking doesn't make sense here. What are the traffic implications? You want to do how high and what exceptions and what variants? And hold on. And you want that board. Maybe they're not the small town, charming, political. Maybe they're a bit of a pit bull. But that's who you want in that seat advocating for your quality of life. You want that person who's going to ask the questions, who's going to be like, whoa. You said this on page 372, line item 1A. Can you explain that? Because that doesn't, I don't think that jives with the comp plan or the land use. Why would we approve that, And are you hearing what these people who showed up from that neighborhood are saying? How do you deal with that, lawyer, for the applicant? Like, does that make sense to you? It's hard for me to vote yes for this when we're clear. You want that person who's going to ask those questions and dig in and not just say yes.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I will be that person. Yes. and there are, we had a infill build next to us in our condo complex. And the same lawyer seems to represent most of the developers in town. So I've gotten to know him. He doesn't like me because I question when they do a traffic study. And I'm like, okay, do you guys do this in July at 2 a.m? Come on. And this is now 5 years later, and you're telling me there will be no significant impact on traffic. And I have to laugh. It's like, do you do these in a vacuum? There are already 10 other developments around it. They're all going to impact. So at least be honest and say, yeah, there will be impact. It'll be 10% more, 20. Don't come before us like we're small town morons and tell us, oh, there's no really major impact. No. You either get new person to do the study, you get some outside concern or whatever.
In the history of traffic studies, I don't think there's ever been a traffic study that the applicant has paid for that has come back and said,
I know,
too much traffic. They somehow, no matter what, always seem to be, we're going to be fine.
I know.
Hardly any traffic implications, really. I don't know. It's going from a piece of grass to whatever.
Right.
You sure the trips aren't going to be an issue?
Right. No, it's going to be a hotel with restaurant and
We've done the math.
yeah, we've done the math. It looks great.
Looks good.
Yeah, minor impact.
Okay.
But most people in town have been on Monterey, they've
Right.
been on Canner, all of those things that are already congested. You put another big entity there, and you're talking about New York City traffic on Fifth Avenue, and at the height of 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and New York does have parking. You can park in New York City. There's alternate sides and whatnot, but there's still parking.
It sounds like you're talking about Costco.
I am.
How do you feel about Costco?
Well, I did come out for being against Costco. I was one of those people holding banners on Canner Highway at 5 o'clock showing people.
What was your issue?
My issue.
Issues.
My issue, not so much at Costco. Up north, I shopped at Costco. I like Costco. Not there. Wrong place. Put it somewhere else.
I totally agree.
Yeah, you're near a school. You're on the worst already embedded traffic in the city. You're near wetlands, and Costco was
It's like square peg, circle hole. We got a spot kind of like.
But it wasn't just Costco. We're supposedly
Out by
environmentally
95,
friendly.
US 1 even.
Yeah, I mean, we're environmentally friendly. We're having all these EV cars. 18 gas pumps.
Yeah.
Not charging stations, 18 gas pumps. So you have 18 gas pumps. You have
How many
Costco,
apartments?
368 apartments, and a strip mall.
Yes.
I mean, really? So when you say Costco, it's like, I know it's already been passed, but I can't understand why anyone on that
I think
commission.
it's important to talk about because something like that could come up in the future, and people would want to know how you feel about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you're
And
hearing
why-
it now.
and why-
I cannot understand why Becky or anyone else voted for it. I honestly cannot. I mean, even if you weren't aware, you had to look at what was visibly in front of you. Forget the traffic studies. Forget all of the garbage that the developers put in front of you. Go up there, look with your own eyes, see the different times of day, see how it's already congested.
I mean, drive down south and go to Costco and look at what that mayhem is in and around that parking lot and the ingress egress. And like you're going to put that on Canada right there.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like, really? Is that what you're doing?
And out there, it's close to the highway. Here, it's a decent drive from the highway. So,
yeah, I don't understand it. I don't know. I mean, that's where it becomes important who you vote in and who's sitting on that commission. Because what you do want, as you said, you want people who are there because they want to protect the citizens and residents of Stewart.
existing property
owners,
business owners,
existing life, existing livelihood. I mean, all of those things have to be important to every commissioner on that seat. Every commissioner who's going to either say yes or no to a development that's detrimental to the city.
The Costco thing stresses me out with the Newfield project in Palm City. So it's going to be something like 4,200 doors. I've heard different numbers, but how many humans are going to be there? 12,000, 14,000 humans off of Citrus right there. And my concern is, where are those people going to shop? They're coming to Costco. So you got people coming from the highway to get to Costco. You got people coming over the bridge from, Newfield. Because that's a city. The city of Stewart forever had like 16,000, 17,000 people. 14,000 people off of Newfield, plus the people that live in Palm City. That's a ton of humans.
Yes.
And everybody's coming already to the most congested, sketchy intersection that we have. Plus, I remember in high school, like we lived in Lighthouse Point in Palm City, and I'm driving over that bridge to get to the school in the morning. And it was always backed all the way up, That's just that much more pressure there, So that's my stressor is the traffic.
The traffic is
implications
going,
of
and it's not just
holistically what's being improved with the county as well. It's
Yes.
just so much,
and they all want to come to downtown Stewart to have dinner and shop and what.
And who is the demographic of who lives here, right? Like who lives in downtown Stewart or in Martin County? There's a lot of retirees. You got a lot of people that can afford, because we don't have a ton of industry right? It's not a huge industrial hub. It's not Silicon Valley here.
No.
Who can afford to live here? Who retires here? And that's scary when you're one of that demographic trying to drive. You almost just want to stay home and order your groceries dropped off or something.
Right. Well, I have to drive. I'm Italian. I have to cook. My husband says, we're not going out to dinner.
They never pick the good tomatoes. Good for you.
I want some pasta. But
Good
yeah, I do
people.
a lot of cooking. But I do like to go out to dinner. And we just, as you said, we avoid downtown. I mean, it's sad because there's places down there I love. But I don't want to look for parking for an hour, and I don't want to sit on a tram.
Not in August? You don't want to?
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Sweat through your clothes before you get to your appetizers? Isn't that insane?
I know it is. But all I can say is that everyone listening out there, you need to have the people on that commission who are your best friend for governance, not to go out to have a drink or dinner with. They are there to protect you and to protect our way of life. And that's who you need to be voting for. And that's who you want on that board. You want people that their main focus is to really protect
your home,
your residents, our water, all of that. And that's the goal. And that is who you need on there.
Even if there's a little bit of Brooklyn in their accent?
Absolutely. But
Especially.
Actually, if you want people to be making changes in your
Get a
town,
little more Brooklyn.
you need a little more Brooklyn on your commission.
Because those lawyers, there's probably some Brooklyn in there. You want a little Brooklyn on your side.
I could already tell you a few of them don't like me just from the LPA. And we had no powers. All we did was advise the commissioners.
But it said a lot. If it's not a unanimous vote, right? That's one of those leverage tools that the applicants' lawyers love to throw out. It was a 5-0 unanimous vote for approval. Staff recommends. LPA recommends. And it gets real awkward when it's like 4-1 or 3-2 or...
Yeah,
we'll not mention that part. Staff recommends.
Right. I wasn't that lucky. There's always one. It was always 4-1. It was 4-1.
Well, when Mac was on there, Mac Stuckey.
Well, I have to be honest. There were occasions where things were kind of a viable
3
entity,
2s.
and we agreed to it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, after Stuckey left, it was just me.
Yeah.
And then I will tell you, there was a new person on, a wonderful gentleman, and we were doing the last thing I remember was the emergency room. Yeah. On Canner and Monterey, I believe it is. So it's a standalone emergency room. And again, I think it's a great idea because sometimes the hospitals are, but not there. That's not the place for it.
At least when there's a car accident from all the traffic, you won't have to go far. So
Right.
it's probably strategically located, right?
Well,
It's sick humor, but it's true.
No, but my point to the person who voted for it, I said, why would you vote for it? Because he asked all the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I had called the entity that's opening up I had called to Port St. Lucie because I wanted to find out. And they have a contract with the Port St. Lucie Hospital. Mm-hmm. So my first question to them was, well, do you have a contract with Cleveland Clinic? Well, no, we don't. So anyone in your emergency room, your first priority is you're going to transport them to Port St. Lucie. So, that doesn't do, what is that?
It's not good if you're Cleveland.
No. But then again, I said to him, he said, well, it's the ability to go to an emergency room. I said, you realize the traffic that's on Canner and Monterey. So if I'm sitting in an ambulance that's going to this standalone ER that's such a great idea.
Good luck getting to Port St. Lucie.
Good luck getting to the emergency room that's the standalone before you even get to Port St. Lucie. So it's like you could be stuck on Canner if it's the right time of day that you need to be in that ambulance and at the emergency room. You could be stuck on that for a good half hour to maybe an hour and a half. And if that's a critical situation, that emergency room in that spot is useless. It needed to be somewhere that was accessible to people. And that wasn't it. But it was granted, it was approved.
That one didn't bother me as much as, when we're converting commercial or industrial land into apartments.
Oh,
that to me is egregious, especially, I feel like I'm on the edge of getting sued. But the previous commission that was in there, off of Indian, basically from Indian to Walmart, you took valuable in the sense that it can provide jobs in one form or another for either industrial type jobs, right? Boat manufacturing, there's aerospace back there. There's a lot of different hog technologies. These are all like jobs that can support a family and are this kind of industrial work. And that just became more apartments.
More apartments.
You just took that land, and the worst part is nobody will ever own that land again because it's owned by some group in Colorado that can sell that project to some hedge fund. It's like, what are we doing?
Right.
And if you ask the average person, those units are not affordable.
They're
the
not.
one of them, they're like $3,500 a month. The other ones are like $2,000, $2,500 a month. Like that's. You were doing this to get affordable housing, but it's you got scammed.
You did get scammed. If you believed it was going to provide affordable housing, you were scammed.
And you took all the jobs.
You took all the jobs.
You erased those jobs.
Right, but you built a few storage centers, like we needed another one in town, which employs probably 4 people because all they do is pick up a key or whatever. So you took valuable jobs, like you said, that could have been in that area.
But you don't like the look of the storage place? What? The giant gray box? What's your problem?
Gray box.
You clearly don't have any aesthetic appreciation.
No,
Yes.
not at all. No. But they give me a paintbrush and some. Make
right.
it. No.
That would be true.
Right.
Make it a big mural or something, I guess.
But I was looking at it from the point of fact that it is a big building, but doesn't really provide jobs.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah. So you took away valuable jobs, numbers of jobs, to put in another storage facility. Mm-hmm. And I always wondered, that storage facility was kind of started before the apartments were. So somebody had to know that apartments were going there because people, I don't know why, but they move into apartments that are smaller and then they house the rest of their stuff in storage units.
True.
And I don't know why. You're never going to have a bigger apartment.
It's the push now, right? Everything's moving towards you'll own nothing and be happy.
Oh, yes.
Right? So everybody's living in apartments. But, we forget to have a strong community. Nothing against living in an apartment. There's a time where you may not want to own a house, right? You may be in between places or you want to, but from a building equity standpoint, from hedging against inflation, for the strength of a community long-term, you want people invested in your town. You want a decentralized group of people that own the dirt. You don't want large swaths of acreage that are turned into projects that become assets in, like I said, hedge funds or some international fund, or piece by piece you're losing your town. You want it to be owned by people who live here.
Right.
Local developers, like you said, you want people locally invested and involved in the development of your
local developers. If you want local developers, if you want to make exceptions,
local people to own,
maybe you make
dirt.
exceptions toward local builders that will entice them to build one-family homes again.
Right.
Yeah. So,
which is the craziest thing. It seems like we can't build single-family homes to save our lives. It's like the wildest thing.
Well,
it's just too antiquated or something.
I don't know. I'm at a point where I can look back, and they always said, well, it was always cheaper to rent an apartment than own a home. You had all these bills. Wait, no, I'm older than you, so
not anymore. Yeah.
Not anymore. So now it's come to the fact that they're almost, do you rent an apartment for $4,000, or do you buy a home that's over $300,000 or $400,000?
Like you said, $8,000.
Oh,
apartments are $8,000 up north. Yeah,
up north in this small town. We're not talking New York City, where that's kind of reasonable. We're talking a small little bedroom town to New York is an $8,000 apartment. Mm-hmm. You still have to walk to the train, get on a train if you're going into Manhattan to work, and you still have to spend an hour doing that. And you're spending $8,000 for, I want to say it is a 2-bedroom. So
it seems like that's I think plan sounds conspiratorial, but it seems like that's the trajectory, is having Stewart be plugged into, Florida at large with the artery of Brightline. And so you're going to have people that can now live in Stewart, right? They're going to sell their house in Miami or Fort Lauderdale because they're tired of that congestion.
They're going to move it up here.
And they're going to invest here into a home, and then they can jump on Brightline, go do meetings a couple days a week, in person, remote work the rest, and you've now plugged into that larger, maybe it's Jacksonville or when they do the West Coast but do we want to be
I always
linked
say
into that whole thing?
Not really. I don't think that the people in Stewart want to be linked into that.
Does that erode at your character, over time?
I don't know if it's a conspiracy. I do know that Florida is really a
I
great
got tin
state.
foil in the back. Should we make hats?
No.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but obviously there's a group of people who think this is the way of the future.
Mm-hmm.
And for Florida, you have a state that offers everything. If you want to live in an urban city and you want to enjoy urban life, listen, I lived urban. It's
Great
a
point.
nice life.
Yep.
If you want to do that, there's Tallahassee, there's Jacksonville, there's Miami, there's Tampa. There are a lot of places to go in Florida, still have the great sun and all of that, and enjoy that urban lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to live in a coastal or suburban town, there's Palm City, there's Stewart, there's Venice, there's places to go.
Yep.
You want to live rural? You can go into the middle of the state, and there's horses, there's cows, there's chickens, there's everything.
Yep.
You get to enjoy it all. There seems to be a hell bent, not only at the local level but statewide, is to make it all just the same.
Yeah, homogenous, mixed use.
Homogenous.
Yeah.
Just we will not be anything special. We will just be another overcrowded, boring town in the state of Florida,
Yep.
along with many others. Is that what you really want? I don't think that people here want that. They like being Stewart. They like being that coastal town. They like being every year or other year we're on some magazine saying one of the best little coastal towns.
Right.
But if you don't change the governing system here, if you don't change the people who run this town, you will not have that anymore. It'll just be a faded memory. We used to be on the cover
The
of
most
Coastal
charming,
Mag.
yeah.
Most charming. We're not that anymore. And if that's
a
what
great
you
point.
want, if that's what you want, you
Yep.
keep Becky and other people in, and you will have that memory of who we used to be. You want us to keep some of the blades of grass we have and keep that, then you put new people on. That's all I can say. It's the only way it's going to work. It's now or never.
Bullseye. I love it. Well, any parting?
Well, I
idea?
promised you I'd give it my soft touch, and I did today.
I love it. I love it.
That was my soft touch. I'm
Yeah,
not kidding.
It's real.
Yes.
We need more candid, honest, less polished takes on what's going on, because that's how I would say the average. And you're going door to door. That's how the average person who lives here feels, and it can almost get one of the most disappointing things and hard to hear was, I'm leaving. We're moving. We're going to North Carolina. We're going to Georgia. We got to go somewhere more rural. It's too late. They've already ruined this place. You know, there's nothing you can do. And I'd be like begging people at their door, like, no,
Right.
it's not
never
over.
It's never too late.
Yeah, you got to fight. Yeah, this is still worth it. You know, you got kids, or you know, what about the future? There's nowhere else to go. You know, they'll do it in Georgia, and it's true. You know, like, so I appreciate you throwing your hat in the ring. You know,
Thank you.
And fighting, because that's what it takes. It takes more people who. Nobody has the time. Very few people have the money to do this, you know, to run a campaign. The physical endurance to go door to door and talk to people, to put their neck out, right, where half of the people could instantly hate you because you may have the party affiliation they don't like or something. Even though it's a nonpartisan race, everybody knows.
But they don't understand that. I mean, that's a problem. And the most important thing I could say to anyone who's listening here today, the most important thing is that you get out and vote.
Yeah.
No, it's never too late. Vote, and that is the most important thing.
It is.
You have to vote.
It can definitely be
August 20th, you have to vote.
August 20th. It can definitely be worse. That's what I would say to people. Trust me, if you don't care and you check out and you don't vote, it could totally be worse, because who is invested in that political race, who financially, right, are going to be developers, consultants, the Martin County Board of Realtors, the Chamber of Commerce. There's a lot of different interests that it can affect. The political, who gets picked, affects their bottom line. It affects their ability to feed their family or the growth of their empires or whatever. So if it doesn't matter to you and you don't get out and vote, it matters to them, right? They're trying to lobby for their horse in the race. So.
All I can say to those entities is that for businessmen, people who are businesswomen looking at that bottom line,
Yep.
they're short-sighted, because if you kill this golden goose,
Yep.
you know, you're not going to have
Preach.
what you have now.
Yep.
So if that's your thought process, then you can start backing the people who are still on there. and you're not going to have an egg in a couple of years.
And forever, that was a line, was you live in Martin County, but you sell Port St. Lucie. That was forever. That's if you were an agent, that's everybody kind of knew that, right? But somehow that spotlight got turned on Stuart now. And we can't seem to
get out of the light.
Hedge away from that is, so don't kill the golden goose.
Don't.
That's an old Krosskoff line. That is the truth.
It is the truth. Bless you. Bless you.
Overcome by righteous indignation. Well, August 20th, seat number 2.
Seat number 2.
How you feeling?
I'm feeling good.
You've got enough time. We're in May. You know, I was a little bit later to the party than you were. I think I filed in June, which was crazy.
I think, too, that you don't want to get out in front of the voters too soon. I mean, people are busy. People have other things on their mind.
So, they really start paying attention in July.
Yeah, that's when I thought. It's like they'll start to say, oh, wow,
but
there's an election coming up.
It's good to be going door to door so that people can meet you. I heard that consistently is, that the other guy, he didn't come to my door. Thank you. You know, it means a lot to people. And maybe they resonate with you. Maybe they don't. I will go out on a limb and say the vast majority are going to say, thank you. That's what I heard consistently is thank you. I'm sure you're very busy in your small business, and thank you.
Yeah. I've done some door-to-door, and it is what people say. It's like, we're glad that someone was listening, because they don't think the current people on the board, other than you, are listening.
Right.
And so that's where the thank you comes. It's like, thank you, someone who wants to listen to us.
Yeah. Awesome.
I was on the LPA, and I voted against, I forget what it was, but there was, and this is funny how small towns work. The person that I use as a nail salon, she had a woman who was her client saying, she was talking about it, saying, this person on the LPA, she voted against it. I was so happy. We didn't win, but it was happy to have somebody in our camp.
Exactly.
And my Bailey is her name, said, oh, that's my client. She said, give me her email address. I have to send her thank you.
Yes, exactly.
I have to send her a thank you for standing up for the community.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's the best feeling.
It was. I felt like even though we didn't win, somebody appreciated the fact that somebody's out there doing the fight for you.
And it gives a sense of hope, you know. It helps other people want to run when it's not just 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, when there's at least some dissension, somebody asking questions, you know, and you just hope generally that more people will come in and ask questions and not vote no if it's a good thing, but if it's not a good thing.
Right. But weigh the options. That's the point. Weigh the options. Do your homework. Ask the right questions. And that's what you need now. We need that more now than ever.
Yep.
We need more than just you asking the right questions. You need a couple of people saying, wait a minute. As you said, page 10, you said this. This is not in line with whatever.
Right.
You know, there is no half parking space.
Right.
I had said it, I forget where. You show me half a parking space, I'll show you half a car. I mean, no, I said, you show me half a car, right, I'll give you half a parking space.
Deal.
There is no half a car.
Right.
And there is no half a space. It's ludicrous to even ask for it.
Because what happens when all those people are trying to park to come home from work or use that small business? It's a mess.
Right.
They're going to do loops. The best example I have of this is my mother-in-law up in Winter Park. So she goes on her app to the juice bar and orders a juice, right? And she goes to pick it up. She drives over there, and it's one of these mixed use, you know, utopian planned community development things, and there's nowhere to park.
Well, because everybody can walk to everything.
Right, of course, except she doesn't live in the shop above the shops, right? She's like a neighborhood over, and she needs to get her juice, and she does laps. She does laps around this, waiting, and nobody's moving. There's nowhere to park. And so she finally, because she can't do anything else, cancels her order on her app, goes home, and orders a juicer off of Amazon.
Makes her own juice.
That's it. That's what you're doing when you're approving stuff that you can't park. You think you're saturating that business or that with, you know, walkability and the maximum number of people, and they'll be fall off, but you're actually hurting the small businesses
Yeah.
if you can't park it.
It's a key what you just said, maximum number of people. Because once you do that, where it's just a little town where you can only walk to,
Right.
you have limited your clientele.
And the people living above the shops are probably driving to go, and this is Orlando, maybe they work at Disney, or people are still going to use cars. This pipe dream of walkability only, that we're all going to work and live in the same
Live,
footprint.
work, eat, everything in the same complex.
People have different jobs in different places. People work in Port St. Lucie, or Port St. Lucie works here. It's just the way humans are. You can't micro-plan out.
But they're trying, and it's our job to stop them.
just observe what humans are doing, and then try to maximize the benefit and mitigate the liability for them. Don't try to reconfigure their society
Right.
based on what makes sense in your
And
textbook or whatever.
and convince them that they'll love it.
Yeah, you're going to love
Yeah, you're going to love it.
traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you can always jump on a little tram.
Sure. But not so much when Brightline's changing their fares. Did you see that?
At first, the report a month ago,
Yeah.
Brightline had a 22% drop. And I don't know, for any of you who don't know, Brightline is not an American company. It is owned by a foreign entity. And also, there isn't a successful train, there isn't a profitable, I shouldn't say successful, there isn't a profitable train service in the United States. They're all subsidized by your taxes, whether it's state, federal,
Probably
or
in the world.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, I think Europe actually does maintain their own, and they have a better rail system, so that's a whole other subject.
Got it.
But so Brightline is not going to do what everyone thinks it's going to do for our little town. I mean, it's a personal opinion. I have no documentation, but I feel a lot of people in the surrounding area who don't want to go to Orlando by car are going to come to Stewart, maybe stay overnight, use our free parking, and go up to Orlando for 2 weeks.
They're going to pay for that parking.
Oh, I hope so. I would hope that they
But
pay.
here's the problem. So are we. If you're parking around
No,
that garage or courthouse, you're going to have to pay now.
Yeah, see, now I differ with you there. Or I don't know if you agree or not. But I think if the Stewart town is the taxpayers who are paying for that parking lot, there should be either a discount or free parking for those people. You have to prove it. You have to have a sticker. But I don't think that they should pay.
I don't like that residents would have to pay.
I don't
for
either.
parking. That's
Why?
one of the charming things. You got free beaches. You got
Yeah.
free parking downtown. But now, if that station goes in, if you don't, and I'm not advocating for this, I'm just sort of, if you don't make it paid around the garage, people are just going to all fill up those spots around the courthouse because it's free parking and nobody's going to use a garage
Well, I think it's something that needs to be
until
looked
it's
at.
complete overflow.
Right. Until it does need to be looked
Not
at.
that I'm advocating for that,
Right.
But with them pushing for Brightline in the station,
Right.
it's going to cause residents to have to pay to park now, which
Right. So we
is
get a triple whammy.
really unfortunate. Yeah.
Right. We get to pay for the part that the Martin County agreed to. We get to pay for the part that Stewart agreed to, and we get to pay for the parking too.
And wherever there is free parking within walking distance to Brightline,
Well,
you're going to lose those spots, right? There's going to be somebody parking there so they don't have to pay.
well, those are logistics I think that people need to work out. In some towns, what they do is there's a limited time at parking.
You can work it out logistically by not having a station.
Well, that's true too, but I don't know
Putting
how
it
we,
in Fort Pierce, yeah.
I don't know how we go from where we are now to
Yeah.
there, but that's a whole other subject to be looked into. And I think that that's the key. You
Well,
still
you might get a crack at it.
yeah, and I'd be looking.
That's good.
Yes,
That's what we need instead of yes.
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes.
How are we paying for this? Where's the money coming from? You're putting who on the hook for it? When's the grant coming? Is there a grant?
Is
What's
there a
up?
grant?
Yeah.
And grant is not free money. You're a taxpayer. You pay for those grants. I know people think it's free money. It's not. The government does not
One
make a
of them-
product, does not sell anything, it's not an entity that makes money.
One of them that was very unnerving for me, right, was, I can't remember the exact grant, but it was in our packet, and I'm looking through, and I'm like, why is the ethnicity of all of our board members listed in this agenda item? And I'm looking at it, and within the grant,
DEI diversity.
It wanted to, part of the request for the grant was they wanted to know the race, ethnicity of all the people on the boards.
Right.
And I'm like, what? Oh, that's just the way it is. We just
The DEI
I don't
is
like,
taking. Yeah,
this feels
DEI is
icky.
everywhere.
This just feels weird. Why does this matter? Oh, that's a part of the grant application. There's stuff in there that you don't fully know long term what the requests even are, implications of it, and how it could evolve. I don't know. If you're getting money from somebody,
Well, number one, it's not free, and they usually have strings attached to
Right.
them, like the DEA requirement. That's big in corporations now. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm a life insurance agent by trade. I have to constantly go online for classes and be able to be trained in, how to be with your coworker, how to be diversified. I'm like,
And even if you're an advocate for that, right? Like even if you think that's a great idea, just entertain the idea that somebody from the opposing party gets in power and then starts imposing their religion or whatever they think is an important part of grants, and starts wanting that information for granted. It should be just clean and not have anybody's political whatever involved in it.
right, it should. But that isn't what happens. And there are many strings attached to grants. And that's what municipalities, it's great getting this money in, it helps, it offsets. But you're now tied to things that you may not want to be. And that's, the part of the governance. You need to decide, okay, people, maybe it'll cost us a cent more in taxes, but we're not going to be tied to these things in this grant. Because that becomes important, not just now when you're just using the grant money to get what you're getting. 5 years down the road, the things start to implement in that grant. And your hands are tied. You've already taken the money. You've already used it.
And you sort of budget in that money, right? So you need that money to maintain your infrastructure or whatever it is, right? If you don't have that money, now the sidewalks fall apart or the complete streets deteriorate, versus what can your taxpayers, what kind of infrastructure can your taxpayers with, their reasonable tax rate support? I guess another way to say it is, don't take billions of dollars or millions of dollars to build things you can't maintain with your existing tax base.
It's true.
It's hard enough to already maintain roads and sidewalks and keep the place safe and water and trash and, with the cost of it. But if you are building things, i.e. water plants or whatever the grant money goes to, if you can't maintain that
Without grant money, right?
It's getting sketchy increasingly. The House of Cards is building.
Right. And again, if the people governing you take that into account, well, you know what? We're not going to approve this, and it's not good for our fit. We cannot do it without grants, and we don't want to be tied into those grants in the years to come. Those are all the things that are important for your commissioners to be looking at. And that's what we need, commissioners like yourself who go through asking questions. And maybe you get a good answer back. Maybe you don't, but that's how you're going to vote. You're going to vote based on those answers that were given to you and your good conscience of what you're doing for your community.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure. I think we're at an hour.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, but it was so nice of you to have me on. Thank you.
Yes,
It was great seeing you. It's always good seeing you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And if we can pack it in, maybe we'll do another one when it's heating up.
Okay, that'll be
I
great.
said that to Sean as well, and I'll have a few other people anybody running for a seat. I want a platform so people can get to know you beyond just the TC Palm. Casey does that too.
Yes.
But anywhere where people can listen and go, okay, or no.
No, remember it's okay.
So we might potentially, if you're open to it, not just slam busy, revisit around July or early August.
Okay,
just so
great.
people can see you again and hear what you're about.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks.
All right.
Have a good day.